All right, I think we could still do a couple of minutes of Pirkei Avos. Reshus Maradasra, we're continuing our share in Dirshu B'Halachah. Today's Dirshu is going to be Kuf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. However, we're still on Kuf Tzadik Vav Amud Aleph, first page in Chelik Daled, and we're going to be starting today from Siman Shin Mem Hey Siv Daled. We're going to start from 2 lines off the bottom, but first we'll do a little bit in Pirkei Avos. So we're holding in Perek Rishon, and we are up to Mishnah Yud Beis. Hillel v'Shamai kiblu mehem. Hillel and Shammai were mekabel the Messiah for Shmai and Avtalion. Famous Mishnah. Hillel said, "Havei mi talmido shel Aharon." You should strive to be one of the talmidim of Aaron HaKohen. What makes somebody a talmid of Aaron HaKohen? What are we referring to? Ohev Shalom, V'roidev Shalom. Aaron HaKohen loved Shalom. He loved peace. And V'roidev Shalom, he pursued Shalom. He tried to make Shalom between people. Ohev Esabriyos, he loved people. U'mekarven l'Torah, and he brought them closer to the Torah Kedosha. Of course, the Rishonim, we all know the Rishonim say, what does it mean that he was Ohev Shalom, V'roidev Shalom? So the way the Rishonim tell us is that when he knew that 2 people were having a fight with each other, they had issues with each other, he would go over to one and he would tell him, you know, I see that you're not so b'shalom with so-and-so. You should know he's so upset that you're in an argument with him and he feels terrible. And he asked me to come be Matthias, to come try to appease you. And then he would go to the other one and he would say the same thing. And then the way the Rishonim say it is then the 2 of them would meet. And each one would feel, oh, I heard he feels so bad about the fight. And then they would go and they would make peace. The question that Reuven always asked on it was, it doesn't sound like a very practical eitzah, because you would think that what would happen is when the 2 people would meet each other in the street, you know, they would say, oh, I heard you sent Aaron HaKohen to me. You didn't have to send Aaron HaKohen to me. I sent Aaron HaKohen to you. You sent Aaron HaKohen to me. What do you mean I sent Aaron HaKohen to you? It doesn't sound, it sounds like it's going to pour gasoline on the fire. It doesn't sound like a very practical eitzah. So Reuven's outlook on it always was that, no, it's not so much that he told each one that I'm coming from him. What he told each one was that you should know, as much as he might have tinus on you, but he feels terrible that you're not on speaking terms anymore, and he feels terrible that the relationship is so bad, and whatever the tinus were, it's not worth it. You know, he's ready. The point is, he's ready to make peace. And the other guy would say also, the truth is, yeah, I wasn't maybe so nice to him, but, you know, it wasn't so bad. Somehow it broke the ice, and that's what it did. But the question I always had was, what does this have to do with Aaron HaKohen? Is there any connection between this and the fact that Aaron HaKohen was the Kohen Gadol? And my thought always was that one of the terrible things about machlokes, you know, it's interesting, it's funny to learn maybe from Haman, but I always felt that in the Megillah, when Haman went to Achashverosh and he said, Yeshnai am echad mefuzar u'mefayrad bein ha'amim. Right? There's one nation that's mefuzar or mefayrad. They're all spread out and separated bein ha'amim. I always felt that one of the things Haman was trying to do was he was trying to be karikitrik al Klal Yisrael. He was trying to find something to say bad about Klal Yisrael, not only in the eyes of Achashverosh, but in the eyes of the Rebbeinu Shalom also. And what he said was, Yeshnai am echad, they're supposed to be an am echad, but they're mefuzar u'mefayrad bein ha'amim. And when Klal Yisrael is mefuzar u'mefayrad, they can't accomplish what their task in the world really is. And it's a very, very simple concept to understand. Go to any workplace, go to anywhere. Any place where there's a team, a baseball team, lahavdil. If you have a baseball team and the people on the team can't get along with each other, so they're not going to play a good game. Everybody's, oh, I don't trust him and I don't like him and I don't want him to get a hit. I don't want to get the hit and this and that, you know, and they're blaming each other and they're sore at each other. So you're not going to have, if you can't act as a cohesive unit, or in the army, a fighting unit. If a fighting unit has to go out to combat and there's strife and everything inside a combat unit, they're not going to act as a cohesive unit and going to be able to accomplish a mission. They can't trust each other. They don't think the other guy has his back, right? So it's the same thing. Klal Yisrael has a tafkid. Klal Yisrael has a job in the world. And in order for us to fill that role, it's not a bunch of individual jobs. It's not everybody is separate. I have my tafkid in the world. I live in a vacuum. There's no such thing. Everybody is part of a tzibur. Everybody is part of a larger group. So if Klal Yisrael could work together as a unit, so then also the way the Umas Ha'olam will look at us, they say, wow, look at the koyach of the Torah Kedosha. Look at you have a whole nation over here that clicks, and they work together, and they have each other's back, and they accomplish. But if they're mefuzar and mefayred, if everybody's fighting with each other, and nobody gets along, and I want to do it this way, and he wants to do it that way, and this shul is no good, and that one's no good, and the other one's no good, so then they can't accomplish their tafkid. So Aaron HaKohen was an Oyev Shalom v'Roidev Shalom. He wanted Klal Yisrael to click. He wanted Klal Yisrael to click on all cylinders. And I was thinking that if you think about it in that vein, the Beis Hamikdash, the Makam Hashras HaShchina, the place where the Shechina comes to us on this world, that's sort of the national focus of Klal Yisrael, is the Beis Hamikdash, is wow, as a Klal Yisrael, we're Zoicha, we're such we're a Mamlechas Kahana v'Goy Kadosh, and because of that, we're Zoicha to have Hashras HaShchina. So Aaron HaKohen understood that part of the role of being the Kohen Gadol, of being the one who's running the operation of the Beis Hamikdash, is that Klal Yisrael has to be unified in the pursuit of what it means to be Zoicha to Hashras HaShchina. And for that, he had to be Oyev Shalom, for Roid of Shalom, and Mir Hashem, the rest of the Mishnah we'll try to discuss, I guess, Wednesday night. Okay, so now we're in Shin Mem Hey Sif Dalid. We're continuing to discuss the different domains, the different reshuyos that are negayah to Hilchot Shabbos, that are negayah to the melachah of hotza'ah. Now, I want to point out that I reviewed part of the video from last night's shir, and near the end of the shir I misspoke. I wanted to draw a contrast. I wanted to tell you, we saw the halachah last night, that if you have fences that are surrounding a Rishus HaYachid, the way the Mechaber said it in Sif Gimel, Kisalam HaMakifim Rishus HaYachid, the walls that surround the Rishus HaYachid, Al Gabeim Rishus HaYachid, the top surface of those walls are a Rishus HaYachid, Afilu Einam Rechavim Arba. Even if they themselves, the walls are not 4 tefachim thick. So even though the walls don't have a makom of daled al daled, and we know that a Rishus HaYachid has to be daled al daled, still the tops of the walls are a Rishus HaYachid, and the Mishnah Berurah explained, he said it's a kal v'chomer. These walls, it's by virtue of these walls that the enclosed area is a Rishus HaYachid. So if the area that they enclose becomes a Rishus HaYachid by virtue of them, so certainly the tops of those walls are a Rishus HaYachid. I wanted to draw a contrast, and I just wanted to show you, I said a post, the top of a post, if it's not daled al daled, is not a Rishus HaYachid. Now, I misspoke a little bit. A post in Rishus HaYachid, so I want to be clear about that. If you would have a post that's in Rishus HaYachid, that's, we're going to see it today also, let's say it's 20 feet high, a post, and it's not daled al daled, it's 3 inches by 3 inches, 2 inches by 2 inches. The top of that post is a Rishus HaYachid. The reason it's a Rishus HaYachid is because it's in a Rishus HaYachid. It's in Avir Rishus HaYachid. It's in the space of Rishus HaYachid. So the top surface of that post does not have to be daled al daled, because you don't need the surface of the post to make it a Rishus HaYachid. It's in Rishus HaYachid. But if that same post would be in Rishus HaRabim, right? So then the top surface of it would not be Rishus HaYachid because it doesn't have the minimal space requirements. It's not daled al daled. Okay, so now we'll go weiter. Sif daled. Churim shebeksale Rishus HaYachid. You have a wall that's surrounding a Rishus HaYachid, and there are holes in the wall where theoretically you could put something. Remember, in those days, we're talking about a wall. We're generally talking about a thick stone wall, and you have gaps between the stones. So you have a hole in there in the wall that you could put something in. So churim shebeksale Rishus HaYachid, holes that are in the walls of a Rishus HaYachid, sheklape Rishus HaYachid, where the opening of the hole is facing the Rishus HaYachid, in that case, Heim Rishus HaYachid. The inside of the hole is itself also a Rishus HaYachid. And the point over here is, since this area is something that's used by the people in Rishus HaYachid, you're in Rishus HaYachid, you're in your backyard, you have a stone wall surrounding it, and there's a hole in the wall. It's something that in Rishus HaYachid you could use it. You could stick your gardening shears in there. So it's something that the tashmish of it is used for the people in Rishus HaYachid. Therefore, the inside of that hole is a Rishus HaYachid. Now let's go right away into the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is tes. Sheklape Rishus HaYachid. Ritzoyno loymar, very important. Chavetz Chaim says, the Mechaber means to say, afilu impoinim gam l'rishus harabim. This is true, even if the hole in the wall goes all the way through to Rishus Harabim. So even though this hole goes clear through to Rishus Harabim, so you might think that by virtue of the fact that it opens up onto Rishus Harabim, maybe it gets a din of Rishus Harabim. No. Since it's used by the people in the Rishus HaYachid, it has a din of Rishus HaYachid. Kevan sha'achur hu me'ever le'ever, since this hole goes clear through to the Rishus Harabim and to the Rishus HaYachid, v'nichnas gam klape Rishus HaYachid, and therefore you could go into it from the Rishus HaYachid, dinam ki Rishus HaYachid. The law of these holes is that they are like a Rishus HaYachid. V'al kein, and therefore, since they're a Rishus HaYachid, you would not be allowed to take anything out of that hole into the Rishus HaYachid. So you're walking on the street in Rishus HaYachid, and you're walking by this hole. If you would stick your hand into the hole, take something out, and bring it into the Rishus Harabim and put it down, that would be a daraisa. Or if the place that you're walking is not a true Rishus Harabim, if it's a Carmelis, if you would take it out of the hole and bring it to the Carmelis, it would be this is the Rabbanon. If you're in the Rishus HaYachid and you take it out, you're fine. But if you're in the Rishus Harabim and you take it out, you're taking it from a Rishus HaYachid out to a Rishus Harabim. The din of the inside of that hole is Rishus HaYachid, even if it's not Daled al Daled. Yeah, but you could go from either side. In other words, the hole goes clear through. If he's outside in the Rishus Harabim, so if he takes something from the hole out, it's a daraisa. He's taking from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim. Or so too, if you're in the Rishus Harabim and you take something from the Rishus Harabim and you put it into the hole, that's also chayiv, that's also this is daraisa, yeah?
What does it mean, klape Rishus HaYachid?
Klape Rishus HaYachid means it's open to the Rishus HaYachid.
So what does that mean? Well, what happens, let's say you have a hole, and then you have the middle, okay?
Right.
So if you take it from this side, if you're in the Rishus Harabim and you take it from this side, is that considered Rishus HaYachid, that piece?
It doesn't matter where you take it from. Even if you take it from right next to the Rishus Harabim.
The whole hole is considered Rishus HaYachid.
The entire hole is Rishus HaYachid.
No, that's how do you call it? So why does he have to tell me klape Rishus HaYachid? He should have said the whole hole is Rishus HaYachid.
No, because the point is that it's opened to the Rishus HaYachid. If it wouldn't be open to the Rishus HaYachid, this wouldn't be true. If it's only open to the Rishus Harabim, then it wouldn't be true. Churim shebekoisle Rishus HaYachid. It's a hole that's in the wall that surrounds the Rishus HaYachid.
It's a hole also in the Rishus Harabim.
Yeah, but it's in a wall that makes a Rishus HaYachid. But if it wouldn't be open to the Rishus HaYachid, then it doesn't have this din. This din is only if it's opened on the side to Rishus HaYachid, even if it's open on both sides. But it has to be open to the inside.
You should be if you don't have walls around it, of course. So once
Yeah.
means it has walls, so that's what it's talking about.
No, but it could be talking about a wall that's around Rishus HaYachid that's only open to the Rishus Harabim. If the hole would only be open to the Rishus Harabim, right? Let's say the hole is only open to the Rishus Harabim side, not to the Rishus HaYachid side.
There was a
V'hinei.
Well, the Kaisel Plaza, I guess, is it a Daraisa Rishus HaYachid? Probably.
It's 16 amos. I mean, we're going to get into the shilos. It's Yerushalayim is surrounded by walls. We're going to get in trouble. I'm not going to say that that's the Rishus around the Raisa. But, well, you have Toma shilos. V'hine, das ha-toisvis. Toisvis' opinion is, the less chiyuva, that there's no issa daraisa here, ela im kein hoya hachor arba al arba tvachim. Chavetz Chaim just said that you could be over in issa daraisa here. Right? It's not just the Chavetz Chaim. This is the Mechaber talking. The Tosfos held that you can't be over a daraisa unless you have a 4x4 surface inside the hole. And the reason Tosfos holds that way is because Tosfos holds that if the inside surface of the hole is not daled al daled, then when you put something down on it, you're not putting something on a makom chashuv. And since you're not putting it on a makom chashuv, it's not called a hanocha. That's Tosfos' opinion. Aval das harashba v'hamiri the b'chayre rishus hayachid ain't tzarich sheyeh rakav arba. However, the other Rishonim argue, and they say no, that the whole of a rishus hayachid, that surface does not have to be arba al arba. The yesh lahem din rishus hayachid atzma b'chol gavna, because since it opens up to a rishus hayachid and it's used by the rishus hayachid, it has a din of rishus hayachid even if it lacks the proper surface area. And the truth is that we just saw this yesterday. It's similar, in a way, to the top of the wall. The top of the wall is a rishus hayachid, even though it doesn't have the dalet al dalet. And so too the inside surface. Right. So the truth is, I'm not going to get into the complexity of the machlokes rishonim because it is highly complex. And not only that, some shittas hold that Tosfos doesn't even hold that way. So it's too complex. It's beyond the scope of this. Okay. So Ois Cotton Yud, the Mechaber said these holes heim rishus hayachid. Now, the Chavetz Chaim is medayik over here from the words of the Mechaber. He says like this: Mistimas ha-Mechaber, from the closed wording of the Mechaber just said these holes have a din of rishus hayachid as long as they open up to the rishus hayachid. Mistimas ha-Mechaber, mashma, it is implied that afilu im achayrim heim lamata me'asar tvachim. The Mechaber does not make any differentiation on the height of this hole on the wall. He says there's a hole on the wall where Chin Mem Hey Sif Dalid, we're on Kuf Tzadik Vav Amad Aleph, Ice Cotton Yud near the bottom in the Mishnah Berurah second column. He says if there's a hole in the wall, he doesn't give any differentiation how high up on the wall the hole is. So Mistimas HaMechaber mashma da'afilu im achayrim em lamata me'asar tvachim. Even if this hole is located lower than 10 tfachim on the wall, kevan shemufulashim klape pnim, since it is opened to the inside, to the rishus hayachid, and we're talking specifically here about the hole that goes all the way through, right? So since it's opened up to the inside, dinam ki rishus hayachid, the hole, the interior of the hole has a din of rishus hayachid. V'chein mashmei miloshin Ramah, and it's also implied this way from the language of the Ramah that we're going to see shortly. Shekasav, the Ramah is going to write, De'im einam oivrim klape pnim, that if the hole is not open to the inside, to the rishus hayachid, nidoinen lefi gavan v'rachban. Then, if the hole is only open to the rishus harabim, then we're going to decide the status of the interior of the hole based on its height and its width. So the Ramah says, when do we judge by the height and the width? Only if it's only open to rishus harabim. But if it's open to the rishus hayachid, then we don't care about the height and the width. So you see the Chavetz Chaim says, we don't care. According to the Mechaber and the Ramah, it doesn't matter how high this hole is. No matter where this hole is. You have a hole that goes in the wall from rishus hayachid through to rishus harabim, it has a din of rishus hayachid. It's always considered a rishus hayachid. V'chein kasvu hamagen Avram v'Tosefes Shabbos. Magen Avram and Tosefes Shabbos say like this as well. However, ube'Eliyah Rabbah kasav, the Eliyah Rabbah writes, the davar zeh pluk tehi bein rishonim. Now this is actually a machlokes rishonim. The yesh min rishonim, that there are those amongst the rishonim, and the Eliyah Rabbah claimed that this is the shita of Tosfos and Rabbeinu Yerucham, brought down in the Shar Tzion. He learned Tosfos this way. The yesh min rishonim disvira lahu, there are those rishonim that hold the kevan shehu lamata me'asara, that if this hole in the wall that goes clear through from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim would be located less than 10 tefachim from the ground level of Rishus HaRabim, then Ein B'nei Rishus HaYachid, whoops, I skipped, I think, the Yesh B'nei Rishayim Nisfirulu, the Kevin Chu Lamata Me'asara, if it would be less than 10, Ein B'nei Rishus HaYachid Mishtamshin Bam, then the people in Rishus HaYachid are not going to use it. Why aren't they going to use it? Mipnei Shekevin Chu Namuch, because since it's low down, B'nei Rishus HaRabim Mishtamshim Sham, they know that the people on the outside in Rishus HaRabim are going to use it. So the guy who has this wall surrounding his backyard is not going to put his gardening shears inside the hole in the wall if it's below 10 tvachim, because he's afraid that people in Rishus HaRabim are also going to use this hole in the wall. So someone's going to come by and take his gardening shears. So it's not a good place to keep things. Valkain, and therefore, since it's not used by the B'nei Rishus HaYachid, dinam kichayre Rishus HaRabim. Now the din of this hole would be that it's considered a hole in the wall of Rishus HaRabim, hamavur l'kamon b'sif yud gimel, and that halacha, the halacha of chure Rishus HaRabim, is a different halacha. That's going to be discussed in Sif Yud Gimel. V'cheinu gam kein das hagra b'Berurah b'siman zeh. The Gra also held that this is a machlokes rishonim, or b'siman shin nun gimel ayin sham. So again, what did we say so far? The Mechaber said you have a hole in the wall of Rishus HaYachid, right? Even if that hole goes all the way clear through to Rishus HaRabim, the interior of that hole has a din of Rishus HaYachid. Chavetz Chaim is pointing out over here that according to Mechaber and Ramah, it doesn't matter how high up on the wall it is. You have this das of the Eliyah Rabbah that holds that some Rishonim hold that no, if it's low down, it has a din of Chure Rishus HaRabim. Now let's see the Ramah. If you turn back to Kuf Tzadik Vav Amud Aleph, the bottom line, Hagar says the Ramah, V'mehem klape chutz. Now let's say the opening of the hole was towards the Rishus HaRabim. It wasn't open to the Rishus HaYachid. It's open to the Rishus HaRabim. Ve'enam oivrim klape prim. And the hole does not go all the way through to the Rishus HaYachid. So now this is what we call Chure Rishus HaRabim. This is a hole in a wall of the Rishus HaRabim. It's nothing to do with Rishus HaYachid. It's true that this wall maybe is surrounding a Rishus HaYachid, but the hole has no yachas to the Rishus HaYachid. It doesn't go through to the Rishus HaYachid. Then says the Ramah, Nidainim lifi gavan v'rachban. Then we have to judge the status of this hole depending on its height and depending on its width. Like this is going to be discussed later on in this Siman in Sif Yud Gimel, and the Chavetz Chaim is going to give us a heads up. He's going to tell us what this din is, and the Ramah brings this from the Beis Yosef B'Shem Arashba v'Hamagid, from the ground of Rishus HaRabim. No, from the ground of Rishus HaRabim. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut Yod Aleph. You have to judge this hole that does not open up to the Rishus HaYachid. This is judged lifi gavan v'rachban. But it depends on its height off the ground level of Rishus HaRabim, v'rachban, and its width. When I say its width, the interior surface area of this hole. Hainu. So now what do? How do we judge it? Hainu. Imhem gavayim asar tvachim. If it's at least 10 tefachim high, approximately 36 to 40 inches off the ground of Rishus HaRabim, v'roichav arba, and its interior has a surface area that's dalid al dalid, it's 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, have a Rishus HaYachid, then it's a Rishus HaYachid. And the truth is, this is very similar to the halachah that we saw yesterday in Sif Gimel. This is like a tail, this is like a mound that's gavaya asar tefachim. If you have a mound in Rishus HaRabim that's 10 tefachim high, and it has a surface area of dalid al dalid, well then the surface is a Rishus HaYachid. So too here, you have a hole inside a wall. So you have a platform inside a wall, and the wall is located in a Rishus HaRabim, and the surface area is dalid al dalid, and it's more than 10 tefachim off the ground, so that surface is going to be a Rishus HaYachid. And again, if you were standing in the Rishus HaRabim, and you picked up something in Rishus HaRabim and you put it inside that hole, that would be an Issa Daraisa. However, if the hole is not 10 tefachim off the ground, If the hole is low down in the wall, then if the surface area inside the hole is daled al daled, have a carmelis. Then it's going to be a reshus d'Rabbanan. It's going to be a carmelis because you have daled al daled, but you don't have 10 tvachim. So that's the reshus d'Rabbanan. That's going to be a carmelis. V'emlav having makom p'tur. If it's less than 10 tvachim off the ground, and you also don't have a surface of daled al daled, then it's a makom p'tur. It's like a fire hydrant. A fire hydrant out in the street, it's less than 10 tefachim off the ground. It doesn't have a surface on top of daled al daled. It's a makom p'tur. You're walking on Shabbos outside, you realize you have something in your pocket, you can take it out, you can put it on top of the hydrant, and it's no problem. It's patel legamri. It's a makom p'tur. V'af de mavur dina de Ramah behed yu b'sif yud gimel. Chavetz Chaim just points out that what the Ramah does over here is a little bit unusual. V'af de mavur dina de Ramah behed yu b'sif yud gimel. Even though the halachah that the Ramah is telling me over here is really a beferish mechaber in sif yud gimel, so there doesn't seem to be much of a chiddush in the words of the Ramah. Nakte hacha. The Ramah brought in these words over here kedei levayer, to make sure to explain to us that afilu chayrei reshus harabim, that even holes that are open to the reshus harabim, kishem ufulashin l'reshus hayachid, when they're open to reshus hayachid, dinam kichayrei reshus hayachid, they get the din of chayrei reshus hayachid. And I believe what the Chavetz Chaim means over here is as follows. What he means is he wants to contrast to us the Ramah. The Ramah wants to let you know very clearly here in this sif. You should know that there are two distinct dinim. There's a din of Churei Reshus HaYachid, and there's a din of Churei Reshus HaRabim. Churei Reshus HaRabim, holes that only open up to the Reshus HaRabim, have their own unique din. It depends how high they are, and it depends how big they are. Less than 10 tefachim, so they're not going to be a Reshus HaYachid. They're either going to be a carmelis or a makom p'tur, depending if they have daled al daled. That's the din of Churei Reshus HaRabim. Then there's another din of Churei Reshus HaYachid. Churei Reshus HaYachid could be a Reshus HaYachid, and even if they open up all the way through to Reshus HaRabim, they're still considered Churei Reshus HaYachid, not Churei Reshus HaRabim. So, I mean, on a simple level, I think the reason is, like the Rishonim say, that Churei Reshus HaYachid, if it's opened up to Reshus HaYachid, so it is used by the Bnei Reshus HaYachid. If something is used by the Bnei Reshus HaYachid, it's considered batel to the Reshus HaYachid. If it's not opened up, then it's not.
Why did they use it? Because it's higher than
Well, that Chavetz Chaim said is that is perhaps a machlokes rishonim. That Chavetz Chaim said in the previous Eis Katan that might be a machlokes rishonim. But the Mechaber and the Ramah hold it doesn't matter how high it is. That the Bnei Reshus HaYachid use it even if it's low. We don't halachically we don't look at it and say maybe they will, but that doesn't make a halachic distinction according to the Mechaber and the Ramah.
Why pick on the Reshus HaYachid instead of Reshus HaRabim? The Rabban used it.
So it's a good question. I think the quick answer is that halachically we give preference to Reshus HaYachid over Reshus HaRabim because the Reshus HaYachid has one distinct owner who uses it all the time, whereas the Reshus HaRabim is kind of random. We don't know if somebody's going to use it. We don't know if somebody's not going to use it. Maybe it will be used. Maybe it won't be used. But Reshus HaYachid, the same guy lives there all the time, and he knows that's my place where I keep my gardening shears. So it's a tashmish of the Reshus HaYachid. Let's try to creep a little bit further. Sif, hey, Avir Reshus HaYachid. The airspace of Reshus HaYachid, Hu Reshus HaYachid Ad LaRakia. The airspace of Reshus HaYachid goes all the way up. It doesn't matter how high you go. 5 miles in the sky, the airspace of Reshus HaYachid is a Reshus HaYachid. Says the Chavetz Chaim in Eis Katan Yud Beis, Ad LaRakia. And he gives an example of this. Va'afilu not kana b'Reshus HaYachid. If you would stick some kind of a post, a pole, into the Reshus HaYachid, shegavaya mea amos, that was 200 feet tall, it's 100 amos tall, av she'ein bo reichav arba, even though the upper surface of this post is not daled al daled, im zarak b'Reshus HaRabim, if you would throw something from the Reshus HaRabim, v'nach al gabav, and it would land on top of this post in the Reshus HaYachid, chayiv, you would be chayiv daraisa, because you transferred something from the Reshus HaRabim to the Rishus HaYachid. And again, the point is, even though the top of that post is not Daled al Daled, it doesn't have to be Daled al Daled. It's in Rishus HaYachid. If it's in Rishus HaYachid, you don't need Daled al Daled. It landed on the Rishus HaYachid. Sif Vav, says the Mechaber, Afilu Keli, even a Keli, even a vessel, Kegain Teva, like a box, a refrigerator box, Ay Migdal, or a cabinet, Ay Kaveres, or literally a Kaveres is a beehive. And this was a type of Keli that they used to use. And the truth is, if you look at the pictures of the, the Africans carrying those things on their heads, it looks like a beehive. It's shaped like a beehive. It was done that way for weight purposes. It made it easy to balance. They didn't make that shape for no reason. It was made in that shape because it was easy to balance on the head. So they used to have those, and it was called a kaveris. It was called a beehive. So no matter what, so no matter, I'm thinking she should forgive me, but I'm thinking of the pictures of my mother. She should be gesund from the 60s, the 50s, and the 60s. The beehive shaitlach. They had those shaitlach, those big tall shaitlach. They called them beehives. That's what they called them. So teva migdal like kaveres. If you have one of these types of movable kelim, im yesh l'rabeya boy arba al arba. If you could put inside this keli a square which is 4 by 4 tfachim, v'hu gavaya asara, and the interior of this box is 10 tfachim high, have a Rishus HaYachid. So, to make it simple, if you had a refrigerator box, it's not even a refrigerator box, it's smaller than a refrigerator box. If you had a big box that's square, right, and the interior of the box is 10 tfachim high, and the inside surface of the box is daled al daled, right, so then the inside over there is going to be a Rishus HaYachid. That's a Rishus HaYachid. Now, if it's round, if it's not square, how do you measure the inside area? So over here again, we have to go to yesterday's math. You have to be able to put a square that's daled al daled inside that circle, which if you remember yesterday's diagram, I still have it here. If you remember yesterday's diagram, you're going to have to be able to put the square inside the circle, which means that it's going to have to be the diameter of the circle is going to have to be equal to the diagonal of a 4 by 4 square, which means the diameter of the circle is going to have to be 5 3/5 tfachim in order for it to be a Rishus HaYachid. And the Chavetz Chaim is going to spell that out very neatly for us in Eis Katan Yud Gimel. Afilu Keli, even a movable Keli, Hainu Afilu Hi Medes Rishus HaRabim. Even if this box is in the middle of Rishus HaRabim, inside of that box is going to be a Rishus HaYachid. Tevai Kaveres, Nakat Shnei Mine Kelim. The Mechaber gave us 2 different types of Kelim. Mirubaim Ayagulim, either square or round. A Teva and a Migdal are generally square, a Kaveres is round. Im Yesh L'Rabeya, if you could put a square of Daled al Daled into that circular Keli. V'al therefore, the Kaveres Shehi Agula, in the case of the Kaveres, which is a round Keli, Lo Yevi Rishus HaYachid, the interior is not a Rishus HaYachid, Ad Shetihiyeh Chalola Machazekes Chamisha Tvachim Ushloisha Chumshei Tefach, until the diameter of that round Keli is going to be 5 Tvachim and 3/5 of a Tefach, the diagonal of a daled al daled square. Da'az Yesh B'Chalola L'Rabeya Arba al Arba. Therefore, you could put a square of 4 by 4 tfachim into that round keli, have a Rishus HaYachid. These kelim would have a din of Rishus HaYachid. Bein toich halala, both inside the keli is a Rishus HaYachid, ubein gav hakli melamala, and also the top of the walls of the kelim, outside the keli, is also going to be a Rishus HaYachid. The chanal b'siv gimel, like we saw in siv gimel, that the tops of the walls are a Rishus HaYachid. Ukli she'ein gavaya asara ha'imid b'Rishus HaRabim. If you would have a keli that's not 10 tfachim tall, that's in a Rishus HaRabim, ein loy din karmelis. Don't think that a keli that's not 10 tfachim tall becomes a karmelis. There ain't karmelis bekelim. There's no din of karmelis on kelim. Elahevi kamoy Rishus HaRabim. If the box is less than 10 tfachim tall, the interior of that box is a Rishus HaRabim. The batal agabe rishus shu oimid by, because it becomes batal klape the rishus that it's standing in. Well, if he's there, therefore, im oimid akli b'karmelis, is such a keli would be located in a karmelis, din karmelis alav, it would have a din of a karmelis, mitzad rishus shu oimid by, because again it's batal to the rishus that it's in, it takes on the din of the same rishus that it's standing in. V'chein muchach l'kaman b'simin shin nun hey, say Seif Shabbos, v'chein kosev, v'veis mer l'das among Avram. Ukli amachuber l'karka. Let's say you have a keli that's attached to the ground. It's not just standing in Rishus Harabim. It's attached to the ground. Mikri karmelis afilu hu b'Rishus Harabim. Then if it was less than 10 tefachim tall, it would get a din of a karmelis, even if it's standing in Rishus Harabim. So Baruch Hashem, we made it to the end of today's dirshu.
And a keli has significance also. It's not just when you're putting it inside it, in terms of having the height and having the dimensions.
Well, you're talking about the top of the wall?
No, I'm talking about the inside keli that you're inserting the other object into, the refrigerator or the box.
Yeah.
It has significance. Even if it's less than 4 tefachim, it doesn't make a difference.
No, I'm not following you.
You have the box, and inside you're inserting a keli. Keli has the dimensions for the rishus hayachid, right?
If the box has the dimensions of Rishus Hayachid, it's a Rishus
Right,
Hayachid.
but if the outer box
The outer box.
has a low dimension, let's say it's less than 4 tefachim.
Yeah.
If it's attached to the ground.
Oh.
So what happens in a case like that? Does it take on the function of the box, or does it take on what's on the inside of the box?
So I'm not sure. You're talking about if you would have some kind of a receptacle
Correct.
fastened to the ground of Rishus Harabim, and it is not tall enough. It's not tall enough to be Rishus Hayachid, right? So it has a din of Rishus Harabim. Now, what are you putting inside it?
Inside I'm putting in the dimensions of rishus hayachid,
Then the inside of that is a Rishus Hayachid.
and the outside takes on its own.
The outside walls of that receptacle would be Rishus Harabim. So if you took something from the top of the wall of that receptacle and you put it inside the box that's in it, it would be a deraisa.
Each one would have its own independence.
Independent din. Yeah. Okay.